Min Yoon had built his empire on silence, not the peaceful kind, the kind that fell over a room the moment he walked in, the kind that made hardened men lower their voices and look at the floor. He was 34 years old, sharp Korean features, dark eyes that absorbed everything and gave nothing back, black hair swept to one side. His tailored charcoal suit cost more than most people's yearly rent. In Chicago's underworld, his name was spoken the way people spoke about weather. Not with fear exactly, with respect for something that could destroy you without meaning to. He had everything a man like him was supposed to want: power, money, loyalty, a penthouse above the Chicago River with floor-to-ceiling glass that turned the city into something that looked like it belonged to him, because most of it did. A name that opened doors in boardrooms and backrooms across the entire Midwest. But for 8 months, there had been a silence inside him that none of it could fill. A different kind of silence. An absence that lived in the left side of his chest and refused to be reasoned with. His wife, Clara, had disappeared on a cold February morning in Chicago and left nothing behind, except her gold wedding band on the kitchen counter, smooth and small and devastating. No note, no argument, no warning, just the ring, just the cold apartment, just the echo of a life he had been too buried in empire building to protect before it walked out the door. Tonight, Min Yoon stood at the entrance of Obsidian, Chicago's most exclusive private dining club on the Magnificent Mile, wearing that same charcoal suit and a careful, unreadable expression. Beside him, in a sleek black gown with diamonds at her throat, stood Soo Yeon, the woman his senior associates had arranged for him to marry. Business alliance, strategic merger, everything his world required. He had told himself enough times that he was ready for this, almost believed it too. "Min," Soo Yeon said, touching his arm with practiced elegance, "you're doing that thing again." "What thing?" he said, staring at nothing, being somewhere else entirely. She smiled the way beautiful, dangerous women smile. "Try to be present." He followed her inside. The maitre d' rushed forward. The best corner booth was waiting. Of course it was. Min Yoon's eyes moved across the room the way they always did, cataloging exits, faces, threats, a reflex, and then his eyes stopped. While she was moving between tables in a fitted black waitress uniform, her natural hair pinned back neatly, warm brown eyes focused and professional. She was carrying 2 plates, balancing them with practiced care. And her belly. Her belly was enormous, 8 months at least, maybe more. Min Yoon stopped walking completely. Soo Yeon realized he was no longer beside her and turned back. "What is wrong with you?" He could not speak, because the woman with the plates, the woman navigating the crowded dining room with slow, careful steps, the woman whose face he had spent 8 months trying to stop seeing in his sleep, that was Clara, his wife, the woman he had married in a private ceremony on the shore of Lake Michigan on a warm August evening. Just the 2 of them and a judge. No fanfare, no family. Just the kind of love that felt too real and too private to perform. Clara, pregnant, wearing a waitress uniform 40 feet away from him. She set the plates down at a nearby table. Then she straightened and her eyes found his across the room. Everything stopped. The jazz, the clinking glass, the low hum of Chicago money. Just her brown eyes and his dark ones, and the look on her face told him the whole truth at once. She was not surprised, she was terrified. She turned immediately and walked fast toward the kitchen. "Stay here," he told Soo Yeon. "I beg your pardon?" He was already moving. "Hello and welcome, everyone. We are so glad you are here. Before we go any further, if you are new to this channel, please subscribe right now and hit that notification bell so you never miss a story. We pour everything into these for you, and we would love to know. Drop your city in the comments. Are you watching from Chicago, Atlanta, London, Lagos, Toronto, Nairobi? Tell us where our family is tonight. Now, back to Min Yoon. Because what happens in that kitchen changes everything. He pushed through the kitchen door. Heat and noise hit him. Cooks were shouting, pans sizzling, steam rising from every surface. Min Yoon scanned the room in 1 second. Clara was near the back exit, one hand on the door, coat half on, shaking. "Clara," he said. She froze. Every person in that kitchen went still. "Don't," his voice was quiet, the most dangerous kind of quiet. "Don't run from me again." She turned slowly, Her brown eyes were wet but steady. Her jaw was set. She looked exhausted in a way that went past tired, the exhaustion of someone who had been fighting alone for a very long time. Her black uniform stretched across her belly, undeniable and real. "I'm working," she said. "You're leaving. Right now." And I can't just Clara, her name and his voice in that tone, half command, half something much more broken. "Please." She closed her eyes. Her hand moved to her belly, protective and automatic. When she opened them again, something beneath the fear shifted. Something that looked like relief she'd been carrying too long to keep hiding. 5 minutes, she said. Outside. The alley behind Obsidian smelled like Chicago winter and cold concrete. A single light buzzed above the door. Clara leaned against the brick wall, her coat barely closed over her belly, her breath forming small clouds in the frozen air. Eun stood across from her. He had removed his charcoal jacket and held it out to her. She shook her head. He stepped forward and placed it over her shoulders without asking permission. She was too tired to argue. "Whose baby?" he said. Not a question, a sentence that cost him everything. Clara looked at him steadily. "Yours." The alley seemed to contract. Eun pressed his fist against the brick wall beside her, standing over her without touching her, just breathing. 8 months, he said. 7 and 3 weeks. You found out before you left? Silence confirmed it. "Why did you run?" he said. His voice had dropped to almost nothing. She let out a short, broken laugh. "You really don't know. Tell me." "Your man, Jay," she said, watching Eun's face when she said the name. "Your most trusted associate. Your right hand. He came to our apartment while you were in your meeting downtown. He sat down in our kitchen. He smiled at me, Min. Put a photograph on the table." Eun went absolutely still. "It was a photograph of my mother," Clara continued, "standing outside her home in Atlanta. And Jay told me that if I didn't disappear that night, quietly, before you came home, my mother would not see the next morning." Her voice was completely even, the evenness of someone who had rehearsed this pain until it stopped making her shake. "He told me you had already agreed to the engagement with Soo Yeon's family. He said I was an embarrassment, a secret wife nobody was supposed to know about. He said you didn't want to ask me to leave yourself, so he was handling it for you." The silence that followed was unlike any Eun had ever created. This one was not powerful. It was devastated. "He told you I sent him," Eun said. "He told me you signed the order. And you believed him." Clara's eyes flashed. He had a photograph of my mother with her address, her daily schedule, the name of her church. He knew things only someone who had been watching her for weeks could know. What was I supposed to believe? Eun stepped back from the wall. His hands were trembling. He had survived knife fights, FBI investigations, betrayals that would have collapsed lesser men. His hands had never trembled. "I did not send him," he said. "I did not know you were pregnant. I did not agree to any order. I came home that night and you were gone. I spent 6 weeks trying to find you before Jay told me you had left willingly, that you had taken money from Soo Yeon's family and gone." Clara stared at him. "What?" He showed me a transaction record. "Your name. An account in your name. $200,000. I never," she pressed her hand over her mouth, "I never took any money. I have been working 3 jobs, Min. I've been eating 1 meal a day some days. I've been living in a studio in Pilsen with no heat half this winter. If I had $200,000, do you think I would be here?" They stared at each other across the cold alley, the full monstrous shape of it forming between them. Jay had played them both. "Thank you for staying with us. This story means a great deal to us, and your support is what keeps this channel growing. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do it right now. It takes 1 second and it helps us bring you more stories like this one every week. And please tell us in the comments, where are you watching from tonight? Your city, your country, let us know. Now, back to the alley, because Eun has just realized something that is going to change the entire game. Jay brought the engagement proposal from Soo Yeon's family himself, Eun said slowly, thinking aloud. He handled every negotiation. He told me you had moved on. He managed my grief like a project. And you let him. Eun looked at her. I was too proud to believe my wife would stay gone unless she wanted to, and too ashamed to admit how completely it destroyed me. He paused. Jay has been on the Choi Syndicate's payroll, Soo Yeon's family. If I marry into that family, the merger gives them access to every operation I have built, every route, every contact, everything. Clara exhaled slowly. He used me to break you down, to isolate you, to clear the path. Yes. He doesn't know I'm here. No, he doesn't. Min-yoon looked at her belly, then at her face, then at her belly again. Clara, come with me tonight. Right now, I have a building on the Gold Coast, the same building your trusted men operate out of. The same security team Jay has access to? The words landed cleanly. Min-eun absorbed them without flinching. You choose the place, he said. Any hotel in this city. I will put guards outside who have never spoken to Jay in their lives, and tomorrow I start dismantling everything he built inside my organization. He paused. Please. Clara searched his face the way she always had, looking for the lie. She had always been able to find them. He had very few. That was what had made loving him so easy and his silences so unbearable. She didn't find a lie. Okay, she said quietly. The baby moved beneath her hand, a slow, deliberate shift. But I need to finish your shift is finished. I will pay what you are owed tonight plus 3 months. Right now. Clara looked at him one moment longer. Then she nodded. The suite at the Langham Chicago sat 40 stories up with the river below, lit gold and silver against the winter dark. Clara stood at the window in a hotel robe, hands wrapped around a cup of tea, looking out at the city she had been hiding inside for 8 months. Min-eun had handled everything with the quiet efficiency she remembered and had tried to stop missing. One call for the suite, one call for a doctor, one call for a man named Park, a lieutenant Clara had never met, who arrived within the hour and took position outside the door without being asked twice. The doctor, Dr. Kim, a composed Korean-American woman with kind eyes, arrived and examined Clara carefully. When she pressed the small Doppler against Clara's belly, the baby's heartbeat filled the room, fast and strong and stubborn. Min-eun stood near the window. He did not pretend not to react. His head dropped forward when the sound reached him and his shoulders shook once. Just once. Baby is healthy, Dr. Kim said. But Clara, you are anemic, underweight, and your blood pressure needs monitoring. No more physical labor, real rest, consistent nutrition, immediately. She will have everything, Min-eun said. After Dr. Kim left, the suite was very quiet. Clara sat on the couch. Min-eun remained standing. I thought about you every day, Clara said finally, not softly, furiously. I built a whole story. You were relieved I was gone. You were already with Soo Yeon. You had replaced me before I even cleared the building. There is no replacing you, he said simply, no performance behind it. He needs a name, Clara said, her hand on her belly. Min-eun crossed the room and sat in the chair across from her. For the first time all evening, something uncertain moved across his face. Can I suggest one? You can suggest. Seo Jun, he said. He paused. It means clarity, a new beginning. Clara was quiet for a moment. Seo Jun. She felt something shift in her chest. I like it. Then that is his name. They sat with the quiet between them. Then Clara said, What happens tomorrow? Tomorrow I deal with Jay, Min, she said carefully. I need to know he cannot reach me, cannot reach my mother. Your mother, Min-eun said, has had 2 men watching her home in Atlanta since the night you disappeared. Clara went still. She is the mother of my wife, he said. I never stopped. Clara pressed her lips together hard. She had cried enough for 8 months, but her eyes were very bright. The next morning while Clara slept, her phone rang. An unknown number. Mrs. Min, a woman's voice said, smooth and cold. We should talk. Clara sat up slowly. Who is this? Soo Yeon, the voice said. A pause shaped to make Clara feel small. I want you to understand something. What you think you know about Jay, about the arrangement, about 8 months ago, it is more complicated than Min has told you. Clara's hand tightened on the phone. Say what you have to say. Did he tell you that he knew Jay was coming to see you? Not after. Before. Another strategic pause. Did he tell you that when Jay reported you had left without a problem, Min said nothing? Not one word of objection? Soo Yeon's voice softened dangerously. I am not your enemy, Clara. I am simply telling you, Min-eun protects what belongs to him. He is less careful with what he has decided to let go. The line went dead. Clara sat in the Chicago morning light with the skyline outside the window and felt the ground disappear under her. When Min-eun returned that evening, she was sitting in the dark. He stopped in the doorway. Clara. Soo Yeon called me, she said, flat, controlled. She said you knew Jay was going to come, that when he told you I had left without trouble, you said nothing, not one word. She looked at him across the dark room. Tell me that is not true. Min-eun set his jacket on the chair and sat across from her. He was quiet for a long time. The kind of silence that was not evasion. That was reckoning. When I authorized Jay to manage the situation, he said, I did not know you were pregnant. I did not know he would threaten your mother. I was told he would simply explain that the Soo Yeon engagement was a business arrangement moving forward and offer you a generous, respectful settlement. He held her gaze. When he reported you had gone peacefully, I said nothing because I believed he meant you had been given the choice and chosen to leave with dignity. I told myself that was what you wanted. But you did authorize him. Yes, the word cost him something visible. I was a coward. I used him to do what I could not bring myself to do, look my wife in the eyes and tell her the empire I had built was consuming everything real in my life, including her. He exhaled. I was wrong, in more ways than I can stand. Clara was quiet for a long moment. The baby moved slow and rolling beneath her hand. Soo Yeon is trying to collapse this, she said finally. Yes. If you and I reconcile, her family's merger ends. She needs you afraid. She needs you gone. Min-eun leaned forward, elbows on his knees. But Clara, I need you to know. Jay is finished. By noon today, he had no access, no accounts, no connection to anything I own. And the engagement to Soo Yeon, I ended that call before I ended Jay. She looked at him for a long time, searching, finding. One day at a time, she said quietly. The baby rolled slow and heavy beneath her hand like punctuation. One day at a time, he said back. Like a vow he meant this time. 3 weeks later, in a careful and fragile kind of quiet, Min-eun came every morning before work and every evening after. He slept on the sweet couch with his phone in his hand. He learned what she needed before she asked. Warm water at midnight, an extra blanket before dawn, silence when the weight of everything pressed too hard, and presence when it became too heavy to carry alone. Then, at 3 in the morning on a Thursday, Clara woke to a pain that was different from all the others. She stood in the doorway of the living room. Min-eun was at the desk, still awake. He looked up the instant he heard her, read everything in her face in under a second. Now, he said. Now, she said. He was already moving. Northwestern Memorial Hospital, a private room, 11 hours. Min-eun did not leave her hand, but he held it through every contraction until his knuckles were white, and she said hard, honest things to him, and he accepted all of them. He held on. When Dr. Kim said push, Clara pushed with everything she had left after 8 months of surviving alone, through the fear and the exhaustion and the long, cold nights in Pilsen. At 2:17 in the afternoon, Seo Jun Min was born. 7 pounds, 2 ounces, a head full of dark hair, brown eyes like questions, screaming at a volume that seemed impossible for someone so small. Dr. Kim placed him on Clara's chest. Clara stopped breathing for 1 full second. Then she let out a long, trembling exhale and looked down at her son. "Hi," she whispered. "Hi, baby. I'm your mama. I've been waiting so long to meet you." Seo Jun turned his tiny head toward her voice immediately, like he had been waiting for it too. Min-eun stood over them both, his hand hovering just above his son's head, not touching yet, like the moment was too fragile to enter without permission. "Go ahead," Clara said softly. He placed his hand gently on Seo Jun's head. The whole of it fit inside his palm. Min-eun made no sound, but Clara watched 2 tears track silently down his face. This man who had built his empire on being unreadable, who had walked into rooms that silenced dangerous men, who had never once let anyone see him break. And she understood that 7 pounds and 2 ounces had dismantled him completely and permanently. You kept him safe, Min-eun said, his voice unsteady for the very first time she had ever heard it. 8 months, alone. You kept our son safe when I should have been the one doing it. He's stubborn, Clara said softly. Gets that from you. Min-eun almost smiled, the closest thing she had seen to one in 8 months. He is perfect. He is, she agreed. Dr. Kim quietly left them. The nurses finished their checks and dimmed the lights. For a long while, the three of them stayed like that. The Chicago afternoon light shifted slowly across the room. The city moved below, indifferent and enormous, entirely unaware that something small and irreplaceable had just been added to it. Min-eun sat on the edge of the hospital bed, still close, not wanting distance between himself and the two people who were now the center of everything. What do we tell him, he said quietly, when he is old enough? About all of this, Clara thought about it. The truth, she said, that love is not always clean, but it shows up. Min-eun looked at her. Yes, he said, it does. 6 days later, a package arrived at the hospital. No sender. Inside a single photograph, Clara leaving a pharmacy in Pilsen, dated 3 days prior. Below it, a note in clean printed letters that read, "He was born. Congratulations. Enjoy it while it lasts. The Choi Syndicate sends its regards." Min-eun read it once, made one call, 3 sentences in Korean, put the phone away. He looked at Clara holding the photograph with steady hands. "They are trying to frighten you," he said. "Is it working?" she asked. "Are you scared?" Clara looked down at Seo Jun sleeping against her chest. She thought about cold apartments and dizzy hunger, and 8 months of surviving on will alone. She thought about what it cost her to get here. "Yes," she said honestly, "but I am not running." She looked up at Min-eun. "Not this time. We finish this together." He looked at her for a long, still moment. "Together," he said. But here's what neither of them knows yet. The photograph. The one of Clara leaving the pharmacy. It was not taken by the Choi Syndicate. It was taken by someone much closer. Someone who has been inside this story from the very beginning, watching every move, every reunion, every moment of trust being slowly rebuilt. Someone who has a reason of their own to see it all fall apart again. Someone whose face, when it is finally revealed, is going to make everything that came before look like a warm-up. Jay was a pawn. The Choi Syndicate is a wall, but what is coming in part 2 is the person who built the entire game from the inside. That is part 2, and it is coming very soon. We have to stop here for tonight, but before we go, we need to ask you something. Did this story move you? Did Min-eun earn your trust? Do you think Clara was right to stay? Do you think she is truly safe? We genuinely want to know what you think, so leave it all in the comments below. And please subscribe to this channel if you are not subscribed yet. Every single subscriber helps us keep making stories like this one, and we do not take that for granted, not even a little. Tell us your city too, drop it right there in the comments. Are you watching from Chicago, Accra, Birmingham, Dallas, Kingston, Abuja, Toronto, Cape Town? We want to see our whole family gathered in those comments. Part 2 is coming, and you absolutely do not want to miss what happens next. We will see you there.